I still remember the sting of laughter that filled the air that day. It's like a haunting echo, one that followed me through the darkest times of my life. My name is Daniel, and my story is one of resilience, transformation, and unexpected revenge. But let me take you back to the beginning. Growing up, I was just a regular kid from a low-income family. My parents worked tirelessly, juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. They taught me the value of hard work and persistence, but the world around me didn't always reflect that. In high school, the divide between rich and poor became glaringly obvious. I was acutely aware of my situation when I found myself surrounded by kids who wore the latest shoes, drove expensive cars, and boasted about their extravagant vacations. Most of my peers were from wealthy families, their laughter often ringing in my ears. "What do you expect from the poor kid?" they would say, grinning from ear to ear as if they were sharing some inside joke that I could never understand. And you know what? It stung. One pivotal day stands out in my memory, a day that would shift everything for me. It was a family gathering, a celebration where everyone dressed to impress. I arrived in my worn-out clothes, feeling every bit of the embarrassment in my chest. As I entered the room, I tried to hold my head high, but the whispers started before I even took a step inside. "Look at Daniel, the bargain bin version of us," one of my cousins jeered, laughter cascading from the group like a cruel wave. I forced a smile, internally cringing at their mockery, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. As the evening progressed, I found myself cornered by my aunt and some relatives. With a smirk plastered on her face, my aunt proclaimed, "Daniel, we were just talking about how sometimes people are simply hopeless." The laughter that erupted was deafening. "And you know what she said to me?" I remember thinking. "You're nothing without us." I tried to brush it off, but inside I felt the walls closing in, the laughter wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. That night left a mark on my soul, one that dug deep and wouldn't let go. I went home feeling defeated, my heart heavy with the weight of their scorn. It was hard enough to navigate life as a poor kid, but the isolation, the humiliation, it was unbearable. Yet as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, a flicker of resolve ignited within me. The laughter of those wealthy kids began to morph into something else, a motivation to change my life. I would not be just a punchline for their jokes. I vowed to prove them wrong, but first I had to confront the darker sides of my reality. Rock bottom hit me hard when I graduated high school. The job market was brutal, and despite my best efforts, I found myself jobless. Bills piled up like an insurmountable mountain. I felt like a hamster on a wheel, running tirelessly but getting nowhere. It was a lonely time. The laughter of my past seemed to echo in my thoughts, nagging at me, mocking my struggles. As I clicked through job postings late at night, tears streaming down my face, I stumbled across someone who would change my life. An old teacher, Mr. Smith, had always believed in me. I reached out, pouring my heart out about the laughter I couldn't escape. He listened patiently, and surprisingly, instead of pity, he offered me hope. "You have potential, Daniel," he said gently. "You just need to channel your energy into something that ignites your passion." His words sparked something within me, a determination to rise from the ashes. With Mr. Smith's guidance, I started exploring the world of technology. It wasn't just about computers, it was about innovation. The more I learned, the more alive I felt. I enrolled in online courses, devouring knowledge like I was starving for it. I started to dabble in entrepreneurship, finding small ways to earn cash and understanding the ins and outs of business. But the journey wasn't easy. There were nights when I doubted everything. My tech ventures were filled with missteps, and failure seemed like a relentless adversary. The ghosts of my past still haunted me, whispering doubt into my ears, but I kept pushing. I poured my heart into every project, fueled by the memories of those laughs, those moments of degradation that had once torn me apart. With every small success, I began to sense the power of change. I had discovered not just a new skill, but a new me, someone who was not going to be defined by the scorn of others. Daniel was becoming someone with a mission, a vision for his future. And little did I know this would lead me back to those who had once laughed. So as I look back now, I can't help but wonder, what if my poor beginnings were the exact thing that would set me up for the sweetest moment of revenge? And as I took the first steps towards my business, I couldn't shake the feeling that the tables would turn. The laughter would be replaced with something else, respect perhaps. I was determined to find out. I had spent countless nights poring over business models and tech strategies, determined to carve a niche for myself in an industry that seemed insurmountable. With each late night, the laughter of my childhood bullies echoed in my mind, reminders of my determination to rise. I poured every ounce of frustration into my new venture. It was my lifeline, yet the path was fraught with obstacles. I encountered countless rejections and failures, often laying awake at night questioning my abilities. One time, I applied for a small business grant that I hoped would provide the much-needed financial backing. When I received the rejection letter, it felt like a punch to the gut. I could almost hear their laughter, hear them telling me how hopeless I was, but then there was Mr. Smith, my mentor, who had always stood by me. "You can't let setbacks define you, Daniel," he reminded me one afternoon. His faith ignited a spark within me. "Every great entrepreneur faces challenges, you need to embrace them." That perspective helped me strive forward. Taking his advice to heart, I learned to embrace each failure as a lesson, each rejection as a stepping stone. Slowly, I built my tech startup, innovating and refining my ideas. I started small. A few local clients here and there. Email campaigns and networking events became my lifeblood. I worked day and night, fueled by the vision I had created for myself. A vision that included silencing the laughter of those who had once belittled me. Yet the struggles persisted. There were times my financial situation nearly crumbled my dream. I remember one Friday evening, sitting at my kitchen table, staring at a dwindling bank account, anxiety creeping into my chest. I had bills to pay and barely enough to cover my expenses. The weight of uncertainty bore down heavily. But as the sun rose the next day, I was reminded of my purpose. I had taken the plunge, and now it was time to see it through. Building this company from nothing felt exhilarating, though the odds were often unfathomable. I had made a commitment to myself to push beyond the pain, to rise, to thrive, and above all, to succeed. Before long, I began to see success, albeit in tiny increments. As I continued to work hard, my name started circulating in tech forums and local business networks. My startup began to gain realistic traction. People recognized my company as a serious player in the field. With each small victory, the pang of their laughter faded. Then came the day that would change everything. I received an invitation to a prestigious business conference, a gathering of innovators, investors, and entrepreneurs. The thrill sweating through me was palpable. I had finally made it to a place where I could showcase my hard work. As I walked into the conference hall, I couldn't help but marvel at the atmosphere. The bustling energy of fellow entrepreneurs and investors filled the room, but my heart raced for another reason altogether. I turned, my pulse quickening at the sight of some familiar faces near the refreshment table, my old bullies. The ones who had once made my life hell were now in front of me, smug in their designer suits, laughing among themselves. A wave of emotions rushed over me. I felt a mixture of triumph and resentment. They had once cast me aside, reducing me to nothing more than a joke, but here I was on the threshold of success. Suddenly, I was nervous yet exhilarated. Could I confront my past in such proximity? I took a deep breath, shaking off the sense of dread. I was no longer that poor kid they had laughed at. I was Daniel, an entrepreneur who had clawed his way up from the depths. With renewed vigor, I steeled myself for the conference and was determined to make them aware of my achievements. Finally, the moment came. It was my turn to present at the conference. Standing on that stage, looking over an audience full of potential investors, media, and yes, my old bullies, my confidence surged. I started speaking, outlining my vision, my commitment to innovation, and what my company stood for. As I progressed, I felt an inner power pulsating through me, each word washing away years of ridicule. Then, I decided to play my cards strategically. I believe in resilience, I said, glancing toward the very crowd that had once mocked me, and the importance of humility as it shapes truly innovative leaders. The room grew quiet, every eye now fixated on me. With each deliberate word, I sensed the realization in their faces. The table had turned, and they were beginning to comprehend the irony of the moment. While I may have started from a place of hardship, it was those very experiences that fueled my growth. To everyone who thought I was nothing, thank you for being my motivation. You were right about one thing: I was nothing. Until I decided to be something. A mixture of murmurs filled the hall. I could see their expressions shift, a dawning awareness masking their smugness. I continued, embodying everything I had endured. I was no longer afraid of their judgment. I had transformed it into strength. As I concluded my speech, the applause erupted. I stood there, chest swelling with pride. In that moment, I had done it. The revenge I had subconsciously craved was not born out of spite but of empowerment. The laughter I had once feared now felt like a distant memory. It was only later that evening, away from the applause, that the reality set in. Standing outside the venue, I took a moment to breathe in the victory. My heart swelled with satisfaction, not merely from the success of my presentation, but from the knowledge that my journey was just beginning. I would face my past again, but this time it wouldn't be out of bitterness. A different narrative took shape in my mind, one rooted in forgiveness, humility, and understanding. Perhaps I could help those who had belittled me grasp the harms of their actions. After all the years of derision, I was ready to show that true strength comes from elevating others. It was time for me to transform not only my life but the lives of those who once scorned me. Little did I know that the conference would be more than a platform for showcasing my success. It would serve as a bridge towards my ultimate dilemma that lay ahead. Would I choose the path of vengeance or one of reconciliation? In the following chapters of my journey, there remained twists and turns I never anticipated. But that was part of the beauty of this unpredictable road, where I would learn the true value of revenge and forgiveness intertwined. As I stood on that stage, the applause pounding in my ears, something unexpected welled up inside me. Triumph was bittersweet. The laughter of my old bullies turned into a grim reminder that wealth does not determine worth. They had dissected my struggles, but now, amidst my newfound success, one of them was moving toward me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. It was Sarah, the girl who had once laughed the loudest during my family's gathering, the one who made me feel like a clown in a circus. She approached slowly, hesitant, yet there was a spark of sincerity in her eyes, a reflection of genuine remorse. My heart raced. Was this the moment I had dreamed of, or was it just another facade to manipulate me? "Daniel," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Cutting her off, I narrowed my gaze at her. "You're here to gloat, to remind me of the times I was the punchline of your jokes." "No," she replied quickly, shaking her head. "No, I want to apologize. I was cruel. I didn't realize the impact of my words back then. I just went along with the crowd." A storm of emotions brewed within me. I felt the urge for vengeance burning brightly, yet there was something else, something I hadn't anticipated: compassion. My cheeks flushed with a mix of anger and confusion. "You were supposed to be family, Sarah. You're the one who said, 'You're nothing without us.' What changed?" "The truth is, I was scared to befriend you," she confessed, and I saw a glimmer of vulnerability beneath her bravado. You were always the smartest person in our classes, and I never knew how to handle that. So I joined in on the ridicule instead." The air thickened as I processed her words. Here was someone who admitted their mistakes, who acknowledged their role in my suffering. Part of me wanted to simply wave it off, push her away, and relish this moment of revenge. But there was another part urging me to dig deeper. Was forgiveness truly a path I wanted to explore? I took a deep breath and softened my stance. "You think it's that easy to just say sorry and move on?" "No, I don't. I'm hoping it's a start. I'm not asking for your forgiveness right away, but I want to understand you better. Maybe we can make amends." The sincerity in her gaze struck me. I scrutinized her as I contemplated her offer. Sure, it felt good to relish anger, to let the past fuel my desire for vengeance. But was the cycle of hatred really what I wanted to perpetuate? Perhaps there was a chance for something meaningful, an opportunity for both of us to grow from our shared history. "I need time to think about it," I finally replied, surprising even myself. This wasn't the response I had rehearsed in my mind, but there was something powerful in breaking the chain of bitterness. I turned to leave but paused for a moment, stealing one last glance back. "Know this, Sarah, this isn't just about you. It's about the pain your actions caused, the laughter that followed me for far too long. I won't forget that easily," I said, my voice steady. As I walked away from her that day, the heaviness didn't lift right away, but a small weight had been removed. I had taken a step toward understanding that the path of revenge was not the only one I could tread. It was a convoluted feeling, but one I was willing to navigate. The real transformation began when I started to contemplate my next steps beyond the conference. I knew that healing wasn't solely about confronting those who hurt me. It was also about extending a hand, showing that I was willing to bridge divides, even with those who once knocked me down. Days turned into weeks as my tech company gained further traction. The buzz around my startup spread like wildfire. People sought my expertise, reaching out for collaborations, wanting to be part of something bigger. But the satisfaction from business success could only carry me so far. I realized I had to find a deeper meaning in what I wanted to achieve. What if I could leverage my struggles to create something that would empower others? I remembered the pain of feeling excluded, of longing for respect. I could do more than just climb the ladder of success. I could help lift others as I rose. If I truly wanted to move forward, I needed to lead with compassion and humility. With that vision in mind, I decided to organize a community project aimed at teaching young kids from underprivileged backgrounds about technology and entrepreneurship. It was my way of giving back, a chance to create a ripple effect of positive change that would spread far beyond me. I envisioned a program where they could learn, explore, and grow, flourishing without the shadows of ridicule that had once followed me. I invited my former bullies, including Sarah, to take part in this initiative. My heart raced at the thought of it. Would they accept? Would they step up to improve their past mistakes? As I crafted the proposal email, I couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. When I hit send, I felt strangely liberated. I had turned my pain into purpose. I had moved from revenge to redemption, a path I was keen to explore. In the days that followed, responses came in, and to my surprise, several of them expressed interest in collaborating. Sarah was one of them. "I'd love to help," she wrote. "Let's create something together." Each of her words filled me with hope. The journey hadn't completed, but I could see a bridge forming. I understood that for every moment of strife, every ounce of pain, there was potential for healing, even for those who had wronged me. We began planning workshops, sessions that brought young dreamers together. I still remember the first day of our inaugural event, the nervous laughter, the glimmers of hope in the kids' eyes. It felt surreal. As I watched them engage, exploring, learning, and growing, I felt every painful memory I had endured transforming into something powerful. There were times when I bumped into my former bullies during these projects. Instead of resentment, there was respect, the signs of mutual understanding. I caught myself sharing stories with them, laughing with them about how far we had come. Sarah even approached me on one occasion, shyly asking if I would share my journey with the kids. Sure, I replied, my heart swelling with gratitude. We had created a community of resilience, a safe space where laughter was followed by encouragement, not ridicule. Each session became a testament to our collective growth, a canvas painted with redemption. As I drove home from one of those workshops, I reflected on how the path of forgiveness not only transformed me but ignited change in those around me. Those echoes of laughter that had haunted me for so long were giving way to the harmonious sound of progress, hope, and new beginnings. But life has a way of tossing unexpected challenges our way. Just when I thought things were stabilizing, a new crisis loomed on the horizon. Media outlets began to question our project's funding, implying that it wasn't serving its intended purpose. I felt a familiar pang of anxiety surge. What if they wanted to tear down everything we'd built? The thoughts of betrayal crept back into my mind. But unlike before, I wasn't alone. I had a team that had grown from adversaries into allies ready to stand beside me. Our diverse experiences melded into one. We crafted responses that not only showcased our mission but put the focus back on the kids we were helping. The collaboration had brought us closer together, and it was a testament to how far we had come. The backlash didn't define us, our integrity did. We rallied one another, inspired to show that the youth deserved a voice and the chance to rise above their circumstances. We brought awareness to our cause and found supporters who believed in our visions. As the heat of scrutiny began to fade, I realized that my vengeful desires transformed beautifully into a mission of empowerment. It was no longer about what they had done to me in the past, but rather about building a future for those who can easily be overlooked. In the end, the twists and turns of my journey brought forth reflections that filled me with satisfaction. The true essence of revenge wasn't born out of anger or retribution. It was forged through unity, understanding, and compassion. I never imagined that those who once mocked me would come to embrace me as a partner in something meaningful. When I looked at Sarah, I saw not just an old enemy, but a testimony of change, and together, we were crafting a beautiful narrative of redemption for so many who were once disregarded. And in that shared laughter, I finally found peace.